Looks like Eric and Raloon are probably here. Our new select board member, Blake Gilmore, is here, and I see, well, I don't know if she's here, but hi, Raloon. I see Kim Russo too. So did you see my massive amount of information I sent you?
A lot. That was
It was a lot, but we're trying. Hi, Kim.
hello.
I was trying to start catching you up on minutes, um, and give you all the background documents for the manual and the policies that the select board had put in place in the last several years. And if, I don't know if all of you saw it, but I did send, although I forgot the minutes, I did send motions in case you want to use those to help craft whatever you approve or don't approve. Okay, so you
I
can
saw
call
that.
the
That's
meeting
great.
to order and I will shut up.
All right. So should we need to convene the meeting?
So it's 6:03. I see all three members of the personnel board here, plus two guests.
Okay. So let me just pull up, sorry, let me pull up our agenda and see where we start. Okay, so you discussed the minutes, Casey.
Yes.
Um,
So would you like
and
to would you like me to give you some motions if you want to approve them? I don't know if you've had a chance to review them. I gave them to you over the week, before the weekend, so you had time.
I did not go in yet and read them all, I'll be honest.
They can sit. I mean,
And
they've
it-
sat for a while, so.
And so if I, but I could plan to read them all for the next meeting and then we could approve them. Or make changes, or suggest changes. So does that sound okay to everybody?
Yeah, I think I just got those motions today. I don't know if you were saying,
I didn't send the motions until today.
oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you said,
I sent the minutes and I sent the manual information
yeah,
on Friday.
okay.
So yeah,
Um,
the minutes were kind of, I was just trying to catch up. I'll probably be able to catch up on the April minutes because you had two meetings in the next month, but I wanted you to have them so you have time to review them. A lot of it is just a synopsis of conversation plus votes. We are using AI to help us take old recordings and draft the minutes. We just have to go through and write the motions. So the reason you actually got motions was because we started doing this with the select board and it's been helping them to craft their motions because we use the language that we think they're going to need and they make adjustments if they need to.
that's great. That seems very efficient.
We're trying.
All right, and then so let's see, the next we have the personnel policies for inclusion in the manual for review and recommendation. So do you want to talk about that, Casey?
Yes.
The input from the select board about the manual?
So the select board had reviewed the manual a couple of times. And on the 29th of April, right before town meeting, they actually took a vote to conditionally approve it. But I went back and I reviewed the requirements. And so I realized I had not gotten a specific vote from the personnel board about the manual. So when I drafted this agenda, I tried to include both the representation from the bylaw, which I had told you about before, which was take everything in the bylaw that was benefit or policy related, put it into a manual. And then I also took the policies the select board had created over the past 4 years and added those as additional documentation. The request to the personnel board is to recommend both the manual as it's constructed with all the information that came out of the bylaw, plus those additional policies, make that recommendation that the board adopt it. for July 1st.
Okay, so are there specific parts that, I guess I'm sorry, Casey, I'm still a little bit confused by what you need us to do.
So here's what I did. I gave you the manual that, like I said, has all the benefits and policies that were in the bylaw. And I gave you those additional policies. There's social media, IT, telecommuting, code of conduct, and non-discrimination, anti-harassment. What you guys have seen this multiple times, so's the board. My request to you is, would you recommend that the board adopt this, including, that's kind of why I wrote a motion, because I was thinking about what it should sound like, including the additional policies that are attached. And what I would do, just functionally, is I would incorporate those policies and reframe the table of contents.
So they'd be
Okay.
incorporated into the personnel policy manual that you have here.
Correct.
Okay.
And then I would publish it.
Would they then kind of lose their status as a policy because they're somehow just part of this broader manual, which of course includes a bunch of things that could be called policies, I guess.
Right, so I think what I would do, I haven't framed out exactly how to adjust the table of contents, except I think I would just name them IT, social media, telecommuting, code of conduct. And because you'll see that if you look at the table, it's basically all the titles that came out of the bylaw. So I think I would just codify the title for now.
I'm looking for the additions that you're talking about, the additions to the personnel board, and there were a number of emails from you. Which email had the
So
There was one from earlier this afternoon that
The one at
has a
4:14?
PDF link that says Personnel Board Packet 61724. The top part of that document is the existing, I guess, manual as it is, and then after you scroll to the end of that, there's the actual detailed 5 different what is that? I'm trying to remember the name of them all. Give me a sec here. There's the code of conduct, IT policy, non-discrimination, telecommuting, and social media policies are attached at the end of that PDF document that Casey sent us earlier.
Okay, here I see it.
you see it?
Sorry, it just took me a second to find it. There we go. Board of Health, I just went all the way to back. Board of Health agent, vacancy, assistant town administrator.
Then there's some information. It's the transfer station
Class.
employee pay rates. I'll go over that.
Okay, so we need to decide if we're going to approve the additions to the manual
Well as take a vote on the manual.
and take a vote on the manual. I mean, we've seen the manual a lot, and I feel comfortable saying that I am happy with it. I mean, I know it's going to be an ongoing work in progress, but what do other people think about it? Do they feel like they need more time with it, or do we feel ready to vote and approve?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on the existing one, and yeah, I mean, it sounds like the vote is just to basically add these already previously approved 5 separate policies, and basically incorporate them into the existing manual to expand it to include those.
Yes.
if that's what we're doing, I would have no problem. Like I said, I mean, these the policies that we're looking to add have already been approved as written. So I would have myself, I don't think I have any issues, voting or recommending that we include the separate policies, the 5 of them, the code of conduct, IT, non-discrimination, telecommuting, and social media, into the current, personnel manual, I guess I should say.
So,
Oh, you're on mute.
Every time. What about you, Dave?
well, I agree with everything that Eric has just said. But I have to admit, I got these Friday afternoon and I promptly went out of town for a baby shower and Father's Day in upstate New York. Came back late last night and had a full day of work today. So the fact is, Eric, as you say, these things have all been previously approved. And I tried to get to some of them today. I mean, there's certainly some typos and some things to clean up in them. But as you say, if they've already been approved, we can always tidy them up later. So if we're just trying to sort of administratively tie this together to get them into this personnel policy manual, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. And I'm with you. Yeah. I mean, I honestly haven't had a chance to, like I said, to proofread either. This weekend was, for separate reasons, busy. So, yeah, I would be definitely open to, after the fact, after tonight, to, take a closer look, tie it together, make it a little bit more of a cohesive document from a readability perspective, et cetera.
Yeah.
Casey, I mean, what do you think? Is this something, if we approve it, does that does it still going to have a chance to be sort of updated and
Oh, yeah.
tidied up, or is
Yeah.
it?
So typos and stuff, those are Scrivener things. I can usually do that. If, for instance, David, if you want to send me comments, I can handle that from a Scrivener's perspective. But we do need to formally have these in place for July 1st. And like I said, we've talked about this several times. All of these policies with maybe non-discrimination. I'd have to check. I haven't checked the website for that, but we have an employee page where these policies exist. So the basic table of contents in what has been created as a draft manual will probably have to be adjusted. Where I would place these policies is in the first section, not the class comp section, but the section before that. Title them, and then we'll probably have to do some work to adjust formatting and stuff. But the policies themselves, IT, social media, non-discrimination, anti-harassment, telecommuting, and code of conduct have all been reviewed by council. So the Scrivener's errors are probably mine, David.
Blame council. Blame council.
They probably are mine.
Okay.
But I haven't done an administrative review of, all the words for a while. So if you guys want to take a stab at that and send me your comments individually so we can preserve, not discussing outside of open meeting, I'd be happy to make those changes. But I would probably take the titles and put them in the first section of the draft manual, just identified as those policy names. And then we will go on and clean up that document as we go. We're going to have to. There's going to be additional policies we need to add.
Yeah.
Seems like you just add them to after sexual harassment. The last one, you just go number 23, 24, 25, 26, 27.
Right. That's probably what I'll do, just to make
Yeah.
it clean.
Okay.
If we change the formatting of the overall document, that would be a different thing.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Do we want a motion then?
Yes. Sorry, I just had to move into a quieter place and I got to plug in.
I'll make the motion using the language that was provided by Casey to, to move to recommend the draft personnel policy manual for approval by the select board, including the aforementioned IT, social media, non-discrimination, telecommuting, and code of conduct policies, as presented to us at our meeting here tonight.
I'll second that.
All right, do we want any more discussion before we vote? All right, David Sharp,
David Sharp, yes.
Eric Farrell,
Yes.
and Ralune Bialik, yes.
Thank you. Okay. The next one is your next item, I think, is the transfer station employee pay rate. So let me just scroll through. I can share screen if you want me to, as soon as I get there. All right, so the select board at 2 different meetings, one on the 5th and one on the 12th. They reviewed the pay rates for transfer station employees. And it came out of more than one conversation about sort of comparables in the county. So what the board did was they reviewed the Franklin Regional Council of Governments salary study that included transfer station employees. And there's a range of pay depending on where you work and how busy your transfer station is. The upper limit is over 21 an hour. The lower limit is about 16. We're closer to the lower end. So the board had a pretty robust conversation about this. Their main concerns were the type of work, the conditions of the work, and what was perhaps not taken into account during the last evaluation of the jobs, particularly, and Blake made, I'm going to paraphrase what he said, but Blake made a point to ask whether there was anybody as a work leader up there that was a transfer station employee, and there isn't. So they did 2 things, the board, over those 2 meetings. They changed the pay rate for the transfer station employees. Different employees are paid different rates because they came in at different times, but the job's the same in the minds of the select board. So they changed the pay rate for FY24 to reflect grade A step 7, which is what is circled and highlighted on this page. And I can make it a little bit bigger if you want. I was just trying to get you the grade and the step so you could see that. The next thing they did, was discuss evaluating the positions. And so I talked about that for a little bit and sort of described what we had gone through before, which was the position questionnaire, review of the job description, sort of the path where you have the employees fill out the questionnaire, then you take it, review it, and put it into a table where you compare the different criteria in the job description to see what the points value is. We did that earlier this year. So I told them that that's our process in the past to evaluate certain positions. And they requested that I bring a request to you to complete an evaluation of that sort. The next thing they did, because they were concerned by changing FY24 pay rates and not having that evaluation, they were concerned about making additional changes without having more data. So they asked me, so they made a change to the FY25 pay rate to maintain that at grade A step 7, pending that evaluation. So I needed to notify you of this because the bulk of what is coming to you through me is the fact that we're gonna need to do position questionnaires. And then I'm gonna need to bring you some data so that you can think and talk about this, probably over a couple of meetings, I would think, to get a better grasp on some of the key elements of the job, but also this consideration of a work leader.
So you mentioned fiscal year 24, and then you mentioned 25.
Mhm.
So we didn't retroactively change pay, did we? Is that what you're suggesting?
They changed the pay in May for 24,
Meaning for the rest of fiscal
for the
24,
rest of the fiscal year, yes.
for May, June.
And then effective July 1st, the pay rate would stay the same, step 7.
Okay,
And-
and it was, are you saying step 7 for everybody or just for the starting person? We're getting rid of,
Everybody,
so everybody's gonna get the same rate,
yes,
whether they just came on last year or they've been there for 10 years.
yes.
Okay, and nobody, am I missing something? That seems a little odd.
Well, I think
Or maybe there's nobody who's been there 10 years and somebody who's been there 1 year, but I'm just saying it, that,
there isn't, I don't know how many years the longest person there is. I want to say it's at least 5 years. But one thing that sort of they're taking into account is competition for transfer station employees, because the work is very similar depending on the transfer station you go to.
Mhm.
But sort of this ability to retain our employees, but also make some adjustments because they're being paid. I think the highest rate they were being paid was $18.86 an hour, I think. So to some extent, the board was talking about bringing it up to at least $20 an hour, for purposes of retaining employees. And then moving forward, having that evaluation of the jobs to see what both the internal and the external market factors are.
So everybody got a raise.
Yes.
Nobody was earning less than the step 7.
No.
Oh, okay.
And you didn't
Nobody was
change-
earning less than step 1, let's put it that way. There was one person that was earning at step 1.
Right. Okay.
And they didn't change the amount that step 7 was, the 2031.
No.
They just
No.
bumped everyone up to a minimum of step 7.
Yes.
And then each year then they will start getting their yearly additions on top of that.
I think after FY25, they want to see an evaluation of the jobs. After 25, they would do that. It would follow the same schedule as everyone else. I
Going
don't
up a
know
step
why
a
they
year.
were the pay rate was so low. I honestly can't tell you, and I've asked a couple of people and they can't really tell me either. So
You mean so landfill and library assistant, those are the only 2 jobs we
Yes.
have in grade A.
in grade A,
And was the discussion that the landfill should be paid more than the
Yeah.
library?
well, I think not that they should be paid more necessarily. The work is, so they have different types of work. The grade level reflects sort of some of the elements of that, the work itself, essential functions, the complexity, judgment, that sort of thing. They're 2 very different jobs. One's done outdoors, one's done in
Yeah.
an office setting. So I think the board was trying to capture some of that by thinking about what steps were key that they were discussing. So that was an element of that conversation.
And they
But
want us
they're
to
also interested in just seeing what the differences are from when it was reclassified or when we reclassified the entire plan versus
Right. And they want us to consider doing to regrade or to check the grade using our rubric of the landfill attendant and see if it actually should be grade B. Is
They
that
want to see if it changes. They think it might. I don't know. really that's how you gather that data, is to look at the position questionnaire and then compare it with some of the other communities in the area.
I thought you said when you looked at the other, like salaries of other people in the area, it was like 16 to 21.
It was between 16 to 21. I think there's one outlier that pays a little bit higher than that. But really, when you're not just comparing salary, you're comparing the duties too.
The job description. Okay, so the
Now,
concern is that our landfill attendants are doing a more complex and difficult job, and it should actually be a higher.
And we don't know.
Right.
We haven't done this for several years. It was
Yeah.
2020 that we started that class comp.
Right.
The other element is this perhaps consideration about putting the ability to have a work leader into a job description, as opposed to, because we don't have a work leader up there that's really on the job at the transfer station all the time. We have the assistant superintendent and superintendent, but there's really no work leader at that site. And that was the concern that Blake brought up in those conversations. So I want to make sure that we understand that we could end up capturing and maybe creating a different job description that identifies a work leader.
and just to clarify, the pay range that you're referring to from other positions, I imagine that they're also, these other towns are likely have a similar step type of set program, like classification compensation, and you're talking about the starting salary ranges is between 16 and 21.
The towns don't always have class comps. Not every town does, let's put it that way. Ashfield doesn't have one. They have a salary structure, but it's not framed out like ours.
Okay.
So in some cases, you're only, these employees only see, in other towns, only see a cost of living increase. And
Okay.
when I worked in Ashfield, the transfer station attendants were very well paid, but they only received a COLA. So in some sense, it's not completely the same as us,
Okay.
but you could expect the positions themselves to do similar work. For instance, Conway might be a little bit different because Conway has specific things that they take. So they take certain hazardous materials like paint. We don't take that.
Yeah.
So there may be handling things that are inherently different than what we would take, or say Montague would take, or Greenfield would take. There are a few elements like that, but frankly, if we're going to evaluate the positions, we sort of need to fit it into the framework of at least Franklin County, if nothing else. Now, we can get some of that data from the Franklin Regional Council of Government salary study, but because they basically poll all the towns every year for updated salary information. They don't necessarily ask for other information. Sometimes they ask for benefits, but they don't always ask for the job description criteria. So in some ways, it behooves us to reach out and get some idea of what these other transfer station attendants are doing.
Just curious, and I should know this, obviously, as a member of the finance committee, but does the landfill have a separate line item, or is it part of the DPW?
It's part of the transfer station expense account.
Okay.
So you can make within that account, there were some adjustments that they discussed with Kevin. They had this conversation with Kevin. It wasn't in a vacuum.
Yeah, and Brenda?
And Brenda, yep.
Okay.
So they were thoughtful about that. I honestly didn't see this one coming, so I'll be honest. There wasn't a lot of discussion with me, but they had done their homework in the background. So they settled on step 7, which Kevin can fit into his budget. The caveat with FY25 was keeping everybody at step 7 while they finish an evaluation, while they ask basically us to do an evaluation of the positions and see whether that element of work leader can be incorporated into a job description.
And do those folks work full-time for Kevin
don't.
in other
They're part-time.
capacities? Or are they only Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday? working with
Saturday,
you?
Tuesday, Thursday, there's different people that work different days.
Yeah,
And there are some attendants that are very part-time and only work for specific things. For instance, sale of transfer station stickers. There's a couple of people that come in just so that they can cover while someone is selling transfer station stickers or is selling them themselves. There's 5 people that can be utilized for that work that I'm aware of. And so what Kevin and Chris Miller do is they usually assign it for certain periods of time. Sales happen for about a month. So they need additional help to handle that. So all the work can get done while they're selling stickers up there.
mhm.
And they sell bags on a regular basis. But there's this real influx of sticker sales for about a month.
Hmm.
Oh, shoot.
And when is Kevin is retiring, correct?
Kevin is retiring in 2 weeks.
2
Less
weeks.
than 2 weeks.
And do we have a new person yet?
We don't. The board's gonna have another meeting and discuss that tomorrow. They've had several separate meetings just to discuss this, and they're weighing their options, sort of how they can approach whether they want to have some review of the divisions. So they want somebody to give them sort of a bird's eye view of the divisions and maybe some recommendations for changes. But they know that we have to continue the work. So what I've told them is you could do this one of 3 ways. You could hire somebody just to be a consultant to consult on the side and give you a recommendation and then maintain your work crew. You could hire an interim and have them step in and sort of maybe do a combination of both the administrative work and also consulting stuff. But then you could just go out for the position vacancy. And I think because we didn't initially have a July date for Kevin to retire, we were just starting to get to the point we were going to talk about succession planning. And then Kevin came in with a date of July 5th. So, it's sort of accelerated things and the board's sort of chewing on it.
I just kind of wonder if the new person is going to have a, sort of a vision of how to that we wouldn't want to change anything until we sort of see how they're
Well,
going to.
that's
You know what
one
I
of the
mean?
reasons I think they could do this more than one way.
Mhm.
Either way, I think we need an idea of how the divisions operate both independently and sort of as an umbrella public works.
I mean, I think it's never a bad thing to do an assessment of a check on our rubric of how things are graded. I mean, I don't.
Ideally, we should be doing it for more than one position. I think we should do the admin staff, the administrative assistants this year as well.
Yeah.
I've actually had a request, so I think we should do that. It could happen concurrently so that we gather the information, put it into a framework that you can see the questionnaires and what the data falls out in terms of actual numbers. That's probably at least 2 months, just because we need to give people time to do the questionnaire and then take that information back and discuss it to sort of give an idea of, fit it into these metrics that we have. Rubrics, sorry. That's the word.
Were you imagining that we would do use the rubric on that position at our meeting tonight, or were you saying that we would do it?
I don't think so. I think what I was trying to bring to you is the fact that this was changed and that the board would like to see the evaluation of the positions happen. And as we move ahead after July 1st.
All right, duly noted.
Okay,
We look forward to doing the work.
all right. So the assistant town administrator vacancy. So as you know, Christopher Nolan is taking a position in Montague.
Didn't know
Same
that.
title, different duties. It's one of those things that he's hard pressed to move on because he enjoys working for Deerfield, but there's certain things like benefits that you can't ignore. So this is an unanticipated vacancy. His last day is Friday. We took the old information, he did actually. He developed a vacancy notice, which I provided in the packet, and I can screen share that if you want. It's not much different from the last time we did this a couple years ago. The only thing that's different really is the pay range. So the pay range, based on sort of what we've experienced in the past for hiring, the pay range is step 1 to step 4. We don't know what kind of response we're going to get. I have at least one applicant that has some background, but the applications I've reviewed, less background in municipal government, and that's one of the things that's key for this position. So I just want the board to know that we've developed the vacancy. It's been published. It was published at the request of the select board right away. We're using the same job description we used before. So I just need the board, the personnel board, to approve the pay range. And this is based
What's
on
the
the
difference?
steps.
What was the pay range before, and is it?
Well, it's changed with FY25.
Yep.
So what you would see is, let me just make this a little bit bigger. So the position is graded at an F. It's right here. So it's in the FY25 classification compensation, it's 3591 to 3867, I think.
And you just multiplied that out with the number
Yeah,
of
we
hours.
just multiplied it out for an
Okay.
annual salary.
Okay.
So, and when Christopher put it together, he just did round numbers, which is fine.
Yeah.
I did the same thing when I developed the Board of Health agent one, which is next on our list of things to discuss. So I didn't know if the personnel board, I know we've had these conversations before where we all realize it's difficult to hire, because the marketplace is tight. It's still tight. And in this case, the assistant town administrator's position is pretty key to the overall administrative work that the board does, the select board does, but also what the town administrator has to do. So that's the reason you see it in the range that it is.
What was he paid when he left?
What is he making now? I think he's step 4, I think, is where he is. Step 3, sorry, step 3.
And and he was, the job in Montague was so much better?
Benefits are good. They
Benefits.
pay better. Yeah, they
Neat.
pay better benefits. Yeah, I think the pay rate's a little bit higher, but I also know they pay better benefits.
Okay. Was there any was there any attempts to keep him?
He really needs to think about, he recently got married,
Yeah.
and both he and his wife are now sort of cycling off their parents' insurance and stuff. So they have to pay attention to benefits and pay rates and stuff. So he said, those are those tough things that you can't ignore. And I totally agree with him.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, benefits is key.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think we all can agree with that.
so is the smooth functioning and stable, administration of our town.
It's true.
Um,
It's true. And that's something that, eventually I think the personnel board and the select board will probably need to talk about.
Yeah. And do we have any kind of a policy for exit interviews for when people leave? The select board sits down with people informally, or?
We've done it in the past.
Yeah.
Usually the last time we had one, it was a little more formal. The last time we had a department head leave, we had a very formal one. with me and the chair at the time, the select board chair at the time, to go over some of the elements. This was when, right before we split the town clerk treasurer collector job out, when Bart left. Because that was a pretty robust job. We usually go over the elements of a job, of sort of the position, and I did have a conversation with Chris about that, sort of what he has for suggestions. And there's some other elements that I think he's brought forward that we need to take into account. This is a pretty busy place. Deerfield's a very busy place for a small town.
Okay, so this is, you're looking for an approval of the pay range?
Yes, please.
Okay. I would make a motion to, I'm not sure if this is one of the
It is.
what format motions you have there, but I'm just gonna make a motion, but unless you want me to go to that form.
No, you can,
I'll make a motion that we approve the proposed assistant town administrator pay range.
I'll second that. Do we want to discuss it anymore before we vote? All right, then David Sharp
David Sharp, aye.
and Eric Farrell
Aye.
and Rulon Bialik, aye.
all right. So the last one we have is a Board of Health agent vacancy. One of the health agents is making a difficult decision to leave. She's got some personal things going on. She will be staying through July to help us limp along, but it's key to think about a position vacancy. And so Tim Hilchey and I did have a conversation with the other health agent, Dick Kalashewski, and sort of get his thoughts about what to do, because we know that the market is very, we knew this before, the market's very tight on health agents with qualifications and experience. That's it's another job that's pretty wide ranging, everything from housing to food inspections to septic systems. So what I did was I went back to our last vacancy notice. For the most part, we've hired part-time, but the other thing Dick suggested was we consider hiring a full-time person and to cover the majority of the work. He would be happy to stay on call, but really his suggestion, based on what he's seeing in the market and what the workload is like, because we've got some busy food establishments. We also have food trucks, and that's something that's hitting all towns. We maybe need to think about how we have framed this position and change it to full-time. So the chair asked me to draft something that looked like a full-time vacancy, which is what I sent out to everybody. And I estimated, I have no idea what to do with this. So I estimated steps 1 through 10, because I'm figuring if we have somebody that not only has certifications, but the field experience, the field work experience, which is pretty substantial when you're doing septic systems and food establishments, that can be extensive fieldwork background. So understanding what you're looking at when you're watching a perk test. I don't know what I'm looking at. That's what we pay Dick to do. So I tried to give it a wide range because I have absolutely no idea what we can expect in the market. None. So you guys can feel free to yell at me.
So the person leaving was a part-time?
Part-time.
How part-time?
Part-time with benefits, 20 hours a week at least.
Okay.
And
So
were
it
they
was
the only,
benefited.
were they the only health agent, or did we have, do we
No.
also have another part-time?
We have another part-time person, Dick Kalashewski. He used to do the entire Board of Health framework, but he has retired and sort of slowed down what he does. So he only focuses on septic work, which has a time frame. You know, it's usually about 8 months-ish of work, because you really can only do a lot of that septic work when you can dig in the ground. And he would be stepping back even further and just being on call if somebody needed him to be here. That's why he suggested that we consider doing full-time above 20 hours. And when I talked to Brenda about it, this is our gut, is 35 hours a week to start.
Okay,
We
so
have
we-
other people working at that range.
So we're currently have a couple of people working roughly part-time schedules at 20 hours a week. We have two in that. One of those people is leaving. The other one is looking to move more to an on-call type of role.
Yes. So you're
Gotcha.
right in that neighborhood of about 36 hours a week anyway.
Okay. Gotcha.
Financial impacts would be potentially health insurance. We would probably have to deal with the pay piece of it, David, although we haven't gotten there yet. Brenda and I are still working on other things, end of year and stuff. I think
You
we're
mean
gonna
having-
have to
having
go
one
back
person
and
in-
evaluate the revenues and expenses. So I've actually asked Brenda for that information.
I
so
see
that
what
the
you're saying.
board
So
can
it's,
take that stuff into account.
so going from two part-time benefited to one full-time benefited, and what that means from a numbers perspective. Yeah, that would certainly be helpful to know.
And so when we built the budget with that 20-hour a week thing for the main health agent, and somewhere between 8 and 12 hours for the other agent. So you're right in that neighborhood of about 30 to 35 hours. So in terms of attractiveness of job, I think 35 hours is probably more attractive. Like I said, I have no idea what the market will withstand in terms of pay,
Mm.
but we won't know until we do a vacancy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I usually ask you guys to approve the pay ranges as soon as I can. In the case of the assistant town administrator, the board asked me to send the job out right away, so that's why it's retroactive, I'm sorry. But you guys know I usually bring all this stuff to you when I have at the next meeting. And in the case of the Board of Health aid vacancy, we got that end of last week.
Well, I mean, it seems to make sense to me if we can go from two people to one person and find, if that's the best way to find a qualified person.
I don't know. We're just doing the best we can. I mean,
Right. And clearly we need someone in that role, and that's important
have
for
to
the
monitor
functioning of
health.
the town. And it's, so I think and maybe you want us to make a motion to approve the vacancy posting, including the pay range?
Yeah.
Or,
so basically recommend the pay range from grade F, steps 1 through 10, or 65,000 to 83,000 for the Board of Health vacancy.
all right,
And
so.
I'm sorry to interrupt,
That's
Rilla. Do you have any ballpark of what the pay has been for the two combined positions? I mean, if you add them both
We
up,
could go
is it?
back, hold on a second. Let me see if I can find give me a sec.
Yeah.
Because I think it's in the budget workbook. Because we talk about this in the budget meetings, David.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a second. Just gotta find the spreadsheet.
I mean, it may not influence our decision, but it just seems like a data point that we should sort of have before.
Yeah.
we're
I
voting
mean,
on something.
we may have to make adjustments. I know that. I haven't even discussed the pay range and the details of the vacancy notice with the select board. It's on the agenda for tomorrow. But I wanted to take your temperature on it because both boards have some, say in some of these processes. And I'm very aware that I need to make sure that you guys that we adequately communicate all of this stuff. So I did look at this earlier. Let me see if I can screen share.
Yeah, because I can see the potential benefit of going full-time, but like David says, like I don't want to, like if we can be within, like, what did we pay out this current, well, I guess current fiscal year, since we're still not on July 1.
Looks
You
like
know,
we have
what does that budget line look like, and
Looks like-
how close are we to that?
looks like about 78, 79,000.
Yeah, so it's about,
Combine the Board of Health agent at 51 and then at
Inspector
27.
health line?
yeah.
Okay,
So if you look at it there's a Board of Health agent and there's an alternate agent. And in 24, hold on, the total was about 62, but we experienced, and David will see this tomorrow, we've experienced a lot more activity, particularly in housing and food service. Some work that was necessary for a backlog of septic information that had to be addressed as well. So both agents were working. In fact, we're going to see a transfer for this line item, but even the expectation for 2025 was 79,000.
okay.
So
That's
it's not
certainly helpful,
outside the realm
so,
of possibility, I guess I should say.
may actually be more efficient to get this full-time person.
It
Mhm.
could be.
yeah, I was thinking, yeah, I mean, without being able to, crunch the numbers from a benefits perspective, I'm with you there. I can certainly see it, though, as a realistic possibility.
Yeah,
Okay,
All right,
That
sorry,
provides a
Lynn.
little bit more framework. Thank you.
no, that's all right. That is a great data point to have. So do people want to talk about it more, or are we okay to have a, okay, so I will make a motion to accept the health agent vacancy notice as posted, including the salary range. Don't
Second.
notice. Hold on, I've got to get to the right place. Including the salary range of 65 to 83,000.
All right, I'll second that.
All right. And David Sharp,
David Sharp, aye.
Eric Farrell,
aye,
and Rulin Bialik, aye.
I got a text from Blake asking if he was allowed to speak, and usually your public comments towards the end of your
Yeah, no, go ahead.
agenda.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I wanted to let you know that he probably wants to speak. I don't know if he's listening to me say this or not, but I did send him
Yeah.
a text back.
I'm
Hi,
on.
Blake.
Hi. I just when you were talking about the transfer station, my questions were when we were dealing with this was the fact that I thought there should have been a split on that because there should be a lead person, and they also had some part-time people that were equipment operators that had hydraulic licenses. They actually used the loader to crush up the brush and to move it and the whole bit. So my question to the other board members were something to do, and they said, well, that's got to go to the personnel board. So I just wanted you to know what I was thinking when they were doing this. So they've got one person that's been there the longest and is actually running the dump, but he's not compensated for it. He's at just the regular pay scale. So I don't know if that means anything or if you just bump him up one bump, and the same thing with the operator. If he's there, he gets bumped up one step or whatever. I just something for you to look into. That's all I wanted to bring up on that aspect of it. So,
And maybe we capture that in 2 different job descriptions. It's quite possible.
And that would come out if we did the like the forms that they fill out, right? With their job descriptions, the
Yep.
questionnaires, and then we would run the rubric to check the where it falls on the grade.
There's a point scale, Blake, that
Yeah,
we use. We
yeah, I
take the
remember.
information and we,
yeah, I kind of picked up on that when I was
Yeah.
listening to you guys tonight. So that was
Yeah.
good to hear that part of it as well. So,
it's similar to the one John used to use years ago. John and I used years ago. Slightly different questions, but the the rubric itself is intended to give you a points value so you can see how you can compare different types of jobs.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I think it makes sense to do that.
What else did I forget, Blake? Because that's, I'll try to make sure this gets into the minutes for the hydraulics and the,
No, I think you covered it, you know, with the assistant town administrator and also with the public health, that all came in last week. In fact, I don't even know if we've really discussed it officially,
you're gonna talk about it tomorrow, so you guys can
right?
beat me
So-
upside the head tomorrow. I just wanted to have it, since I had a chance to talk to personnel.
I think
I
it's a good
wanted to
idea. I
take
think
it-
they should be included in everything that we do as far as personnel goes anyways.
Well, I try to keep these communication paths pretty clean and clear, but if I have a chance to talk to personnel before we need to do something, I do try.
That's a good policy. So, and like I said, if you guys have any questions for me, I'm very new at this. That's why I'm here. I'm here just listening to you because you know, I don't have the background of any of this. So I'm learning from you. But if I've got information that I can give to you and I'm able to give to you, then I definitely will pass it on.
Great.
All right. Well, good to meet you.
I only
Good
have
to
one
meet you
other
too.
thing.
What's that?
I only have one other thing.
Oh,
And that is the employee election. So you have an employee member. Chris Nolan has been awesome. He pulled together sort of the framework to elect an employee representative and developed a ballot. He passed those out today.
Great.
And they're due on the 21st. So we should have information hopefully by the 24th, maybe the 26th.
So the lucky winner will
Yeah,
join
to see who
our
the
board.
representative is going to be.
Great. Excellent.
Yeah.
Sounds good. And is that kind of it for our agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to see if Kim, did you have something you wanted to add or ask or just listening in?
I was just listening in. Actually, I had been on the board back in 2018, 19
I think
and
I
had to jump
remember.
off.
I think
Yeah, I
we
think you
had-
came on after. Yes.
Yeah, like one meeting, maybe we overlapped.
Right. So I just was looking to see how things were going, considering my life's a little bit easier now that Emma is not around as often. And so I just figured, so I don't know, some of you, I know Raina, you know, but so I'm the director of HR over at Pelican, and I live right here in town. I have such a tough commute to go to work. But I was looking to see if, you know, I was just looking to see what's going on to see, I think you guys still have some openings on the board and contemplating whether or not I had the time and the commitment to be able to think about doing it. So I'm not sure how much time you guys are actually spending outside of this meeting, and like what's required at this point. Looks like you guys have a lot of great activity going on.
Yeah. I guess that kind of leads into when you had mentioned about, you know, the employee representative. Isn't there also still a potential, what's the position? The
Moderator appointment.
moderator, thank you. I'm like, I knew there was somebody else who has a recommendation. So, because it's ultimately going to be a 5-person voting, 1 non-voting. If I'm remembering everything correctly?
Yeah.
And so, okay, there's us 3, then there's the employee, and then there'd be the
Moderator appointment.
the moderator okay, so there'd still be an opening at from if I'm understanding things correctly from our whatever 2 meetings ago. I don't even remember at this point. The last 2 months have been a bit of a blur on my end, but that has nothing to do with the personnel board. It has everything to do with my own life.
How long
Do you
is
want me
that,
to explain it?
Yeah, how long is that term?
So it's sort of a reset, Kim, with the
Mhm.
change in the bylaw at town meeting in April. The membership is slightly more diversified than it used to be. It used to be all select board appointees. Now there's the 1-year finance committee member, David Sharp, represents finance committee. 2 select board appointees, Raloon and Eric are those appointees. There's a moderator appointment and an employee, elected employee representative. So if, and I had asked this question last month, if either Raloon or Eric don't want to serve any longer, if they're interested, if somebody else is interested, certainly, you know, I don't want to speak for Raloon or Eric, but it may be that one of them wants to step off. And then there is also the moderator's appointment, and that's something that if you were interested in that, I can certainly, if you don't have Dan Graves's information, I can send it to you.
Okay, great, thanks.
It'd be
make a-
great.
I'll make a motion to approve our new member, Kim Russo.
I second that. And Kim, you know, you had said like how much work, you know, what's the time commitment? You know, we generally have 1 meeting a week. We're pretty good.
Not a
at
week,
A
one a
month.
month.
I'm sorry, one a
month.
month, a month, a month, a month. One a month. And we're pretty good at keeping it to about an hour. Sometimes we go an hour and a half.
Okay.
There's
And-
reading.
You know, there's a little bit of email that I, you know, like in the, like we were saying, but so sometimes like I don't have time to do it. And then we just come and we just talk, you know, it feels, I mean, you know, we just dealt with a lot of stuff, but a lot of it we just
Mhm.
kind of handle while we're together. And at least, that seems to be how generally, and it's a nice group. It'd be great to have you back.
Great, well, thanks. All right, I'll get in touch with Casey and or Blake, and we can figure out
And we-
what's needed. And
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, you know, we're only at 3 voting members right now because Casey's non-voting, and so we need all 3 of us to have a quorum. So if any of us
Right.
have a reason that we can't come to a meeting, we have, you know, we have to reschedule. And so it'd be great to have if we got back up to full, just give us, it's good to have more voices at the table too. So
She
okay,
brings a
Does
lot
this
of
one-
experience to it.
maybe too much. Okay, so you said that this position that's open is the moderator position. I guess the question is that one, maybe I didn't catch it. Does that one have to be a selection by the select board?
Mm-mm. No, the
No,
moderator
okay.
makes an independent appointment for the same term, and I had the new bylaw in front of me about 2 hours ago and I closed it. I think it's a 4-year term.
Okay, that's a big commitment. Okay,
That sounds
Um,
long. Is it really 4 years?
Not for you.
No, but just that sounds long for a town.
Yeah, it is. It
yeah.
was before though.
Okay.
That
So
was-
is that it? And so is the select board appointments are 4 years as well?
Yes.
Gotcha.
The
Okay.
only appointment that is not, the employee representative is 2 years and the finance committee is annual.
Gotcha. Okay.
okay. Yeah, because I thought I had an annual last time. I think there was 1 year and 3 years, I thought. So
Well, you guys talk amongst yourselves and give me a half a second, I'll look it up.
it's okay. You know what you could do, Casey? I don't want to hold everybody up. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. If you want to just email me, I think you've got my email probably.
I think so. Yeah, I can email you.
Okay.
I was looking at it, but I was looking at a different section and that's the reason I can't remember because I just
All right.
didn't parse
What-
that.
Why don't you just send it to me at kim.russo@pelican.com. I'm there more than I would like to say. I'll get it there better than I will at my personal email.
Okay.
I hear you
Perfect.
there.
Thank you.
Doing more on your work email than your personal email.
Absolutely.
yeah, and I mean, if it seems like since I've been on the board, you know, some people, it seems like if the 4 years is the thing that's like making you not want to do it, I don't know. It seems like what happens if someone does it for
People
not
can
the
resign
term
whenever they want.
wants to leave? I
They
mean,
can resign. Yeah.
Sure.
somebody can
Right.
resign
Right?
whenever they
Like-
want.
Yeah.
it's not going to be
Okay.
like a black mark on your record or anything,
No.
you know?
Right.
I mean, it's nice to have consistency because we kind of get into a rhythm and knowledge and, but I feel like if that's the only thing that's holding you back, I think that's not gonna,
You just have to
Okay.
return the pay if you don't fill out a full term.
right, right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, hopefully I'll be
Agreed.
around for at least 3. So, that would be good.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Right.
Be great.
Yep,
Yeah.
so the
Okay.
select board, it is a staggered 4-year term. And
Okay.
moderator is a 4-year term as well. And like I said,
Okay.
this is a reset, Kim, because they basically amended the bylaw. Took all the benefits and policies out of the bylaw.
Yeah, I remember we had started talking about that when I was there, and
I
we
know,
weren't
it's
getting
been-
anything, nothing was getting done. So
Yeah.
These
yeah,
folks
it's
did a
been
lot of
great-
work.
Great development.
clearly, no, that's great work.
So I'm glad you came. I'm glad you could ask the questions and
Yeah.
talk to everybody.
Well,
Definitely.
thanks. Thank you for having me.
All right. Are we all set, Casey?
That's all the things I needed. Is there anything you need from me?
I don't think so. So motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right. David Sharp,
Dave Sharp, aye.
Eric Farrell,
Aye.
Roland Bialik, aye.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah.
Aye.
Take care, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a good
Take
night.
care.
everyone.
Thanks. Bye bye.